Bruins. Whoa, 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 whoa.
When that clip came out, I think it was after the Bruins beat the Leafs in the playoffs. Not anymore. Now we're playing that clip every single time the Bruins lose, which is going to be fucking 4 straight in this series. Honestly, fuck the Bruins.
Yeah. Honestly, Tucker, I might do my own version of that. If we win this series, I might just do my own. It'll be like a Caps version, and it might just be, whoa, Caps,
Yeah.
whoa,
Capitals.
Capitals!
Whoa, 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 whoa,
just mock the Bruins fan base right in front of their faces.
God,
They couldn't contain Nick Dowd last night. Tom Wilson. I think Jack Edwards probably had an aneurysm after watching Tom Wilson put that top shelf on Tuukka Rask. But that was great. That was incredible.
Fuck Jack Edwards. But honestly, anything to do with the Boston Bruins, down.
It's no longer top line Tom. It's now top shelf Tom.
Top shelf Tom.
After watching that goal, it is now top shelf Tom. So look out for that the rest of the year.
When Nick Ritchie crashed the goalie, I think it was like the second period or something.
Suspend him.
And Tom Wilson got in there. I was like, calm down, Tommy. Calm down.
Tom, we need you.
You're on a short leash here. Calm down.
Did you see when Craig Anderson fell back and knocked the net off and then they proceeded to score?
All right. So let's talk about that. All right. So let's break down the game. So Vitek Vaneck starts for the Capitals. Hold on. Let me hear from you, Caps fan. What did you think of the game?
All right. Also, I'm gonna start off by saying it was so nice to see playoff hockey again. There was fans in the building, the physicality. I haven't seen that a lot from this Capitals team this year. I know they are, but it almost felt like they've been preserving something, trying to stay healthy because we've been battling some injuries, etc. So it was just awesome to see Krejci just getting run over by Ovechkin in the first period. That was just got the tempo rolling right away. But yeah, it was, you know what? It was a very, I want to say back and forth game, but it really wasn't. I felt like Washington controlled the game. There was just the Bruins did capitalize on right off the faceoff, and we'll get into the Vanacek situation, but DeBrusk off the faceoff, and they did capitalize on their chances. But I felt like Washington's physicality, they could have even scored a few more. Rask played well, but it was a great game to see. Nothing better than a nice overtime winner, though. So it was just awesome to watch playoff hockey again.
It was definitely a back and forth game. I thought it was a great game. But yeah, let's get into it. The DeBrusk goal, Vitek Vaneck pulls his groin, going for the save. I think what happened was he just wasn't ready for it, and he just kind of stuck his leg out there just to try to get something on it. And it was just an awkward save.
It was like reactionary, right? It was so quick off the faceoff. He didn't really have time to see the play develop. So for anyone who didn't see the play, he basically, the shot comes off the faceoff from DeBrusk to the left side of the net. So he's extending his right leg to the far side of the goal as he's sliding across the crease. And for anyone who's ever played the position, it did not look good. And you could feel the pain of Vanacek's groin. Like it definitely looked like an overextension. I'm not a doctor, believe it or not, but it didn't look good. So right away, I think most people knew it looked like it was like a strained groin at the least.
Yeah. So he gets pulled, because of injury. He leaves the game. Craig Anderson comes in and finishes out the period. And we go to the intermission. And Kelly Hrudey, who I actually do like. I think he gives a lot of good takes.
Normally, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Of course, he used to play goalie, so he sides a lot with the goalies, but that's fine. But he said something that was just so blasphemous, where he said, actually, I have the quote here from what he said about the Vanacek injury. let me just pull it up here. He says this during the intermission. He goes, "Oh boy, where do you start? Where do I want to go?" I guess there's a part of me that I suppose I'm supposed to feel sorry for Vanacek. His first NHL playoff start. But first of all, this is a bad goal. He just wasn't ready, and you could tell immediately something was wrong. But I'm sorry. If you're an NHL goaltender, you shouldn't be pulling a muscle or straining a muscle. That's one of your jobs, is to make sure that you're stretched out, and whether that means stretch 8 to 10 times during the course of the day before the game to make sure this doesn't happen. You've got to be better. You've got to be a better pro than that. And then it's unfair to the organization. It's unfair to Craig Anderson. Anderson in a week is going to be 40 years old. And I just think that when you're in that position, you've got to do all you can to make sure that you're stretched out. Like, he's just wrong.
Yeah, that was just an incredible take. I couldn't believe it when I heard that. Actually, I read it in the morning too. I was like, this can't be real, right? Just for any, obviously, you and I have both played sports through our lives. You could stretch 25 times throughout the day. I don't care. If you make that movement, you are straining your groin. That was just, and to say he wasn't prepared, how, like, there's 7 bodies in front of him off the face-off. The puck's in the legs. DeBrusk happens to find it and fire a quick shot on net. Like, I don't think that's being a bad pro. How do you, like, for him, he was there. It was just a reactionary movement that happens in the course of a season a handful of times.
Well, I would just like to ask Kelly Hrudey, MD. If I'm a NHL goaltender, I can't pull a muscle. Can I tear a muscle? Am I allowed to do that, Kelly? Because to tear a muscle, you got to pull a muscle. So am I allowed to do that? Like, I mean, it's just, it makes no sense. I get what he kind of means, is like, you should be stretched out and you should be ready to go, but you hit the nail on the head. Like, you can stretch out as much as you want. There's still always the chance that you're going to tear or you're going to pull something or whatever.
Is he indicating stretching you just immune to injuries now? Like, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. That's just not how sports. It's not how the body works.
I mean, when I heard it, I was like, no way, this guy actually just said that. Like, as if this guy's never been hurt in his career.
Yeah, of all people, too, a former goalie to say that about another goalie, I couldn't believe it. That's the only thing I can describe the situation. I just couldn't believe it. I didn't think it was real. It was just a brutal take.
It was a bad take, and people are ripping him apart. Like, I woke up this morning, I just like Googled, Kelly Hrudey, and there's just 1,000 articles on Kelly Hrudey and just like how his take was completely off, which I agree with. But let's move on. So Vanacek, he leaves the game. Craig Anderson comes in. And that's the other thing I do want to touch on with Kelly Hrudey. He's talking about how it's unfair to Craig Anderson to have to come into that game in that situation. I'm sorry, but isn't Craig Anderson on the roster? He's not a 40-year-old accountant that just came into the game. He's an NHL goalie. He should be ready.
This guy's talking about it's unfair to Craig Anderson and the Vanacek needs to be a better pro. Well, I mean, believe it or not, Craig Anderson is also a pro, and that is his job, is to be ready in case of injury or a poor performance. So, I mean, what exactly did he think that Craig Anderson's job was?
Yeah, like, exactly. You're on the roster, man. You're on the roster. You are to be ready to go. Grant Fuhr always said it. He goes, whether you're backing up or you're starting, you prepare the same way every game. So he should be ready to go. How is it unfair to him?
And moving on, like, if we were talking about the actual performance, he played really good. Yeah. I was incredibly happy, to say the least, but just almost happily surprised. Like, he's played 4 games all year, only 2 starts, and he looked good, looked solid, did what he had to do to get us a win. Like I said, I didn't feel like the Bruins, I guess we'll say, peppered him with shots. Like, I felt like they had their opportunities, but nothing crazy. Washington did a really good job of limiting the high danger scoring chances. There's a lot of maybe shots from the point, shots from the outside, but I will take those all game long. I felt physically in the defensive end too, they did a good job rubbing guys out on the board. So I was really happy with the performance, especially down Kuznetsov. And if we're talking about goaltending, Samsonov, who both guys were on the ice. We're recording this on Sunday, so today. So that could be a huge boost. If might not be tomorrow, but or I guess when you guys hear this, it'll be Monday. So tonight there'll be a game day, but So for game 3, I expect both guys to probably be in the lineup. And if we can manage to get another win Monday and go up 2-0 and get Evgeny Kuznetsov back, wow.
Mhm.
That's a nice boost right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get your whatever you want to call them, your first, your second line center, however you want to kind of arrange them, and plus what was supposed to be your starting goaltender.
Yeah, I think
Um,
too, if it wasn't for the COVID situation, he had just as much of an opportunity to start that game yesterday as Vanacek did.
yeah,
So
100%.
I think he probably is. He's probably our best goalie. So yeah, I mean, getting your best
Yeah.
goalie back and your number one center helps any team.
So Craig Anderson comes into the game. He plays extremely well. There was one controversial play. Like the first period had it all: big hits, goals, controversial plays. Um, there was a play where the net got knocked off its moorings. And the Bruins scored. David Pastrnak scored, but the net was off. And then they look at the replay, and actually Zdeno Chara knocked the net off. Like it wasn't a Bruin. The Bruin was behind the net.
No, suspend Chara.
Suspend Chara. He's
No,
on
I'm
your
kidding.
team, man.
I'm kidding. No, yeah, it was an all-time job there by Craig Anderson selling that, because
Yeah.
he did not get touched much. He did a really good job of making it look like he fell, and that it was Nick Ritchie, I think, who kind of skated through the crease, didn't touch him at all. And he did a really good job selling that. But I mean, I'm not sitting here complaining the goal didn't count, but also like the
Right.
net was off quite before that puck went in.
Now, the unbiased hockey viewer in me goes, that should probably be a goal. In my mind, that should probably be a goal. The Leafs fan in me goes, I didn't see it. I didn't see what happened. I guess the goal doesn't count, unfortunately.
As
But
a Leafs,
I think the goal should have counted, quite honestly.
I think, well, according to to the rules, it probably should have been at least a penalty. I don't even think that there wasn't even a penalty on the play. So I was expecting there to be a delay of game call, because that's
Right.
usually, it doesn't count as a goal because the net's off, but it should have been a delay of game penalty, which would have gave them, if I'm not mistaken, it would have been a 5-on-3, right? So that could have been
Right.
huge. So whatever you want, yeah, like maybe
Right.
if we had readjusted the rule, yeah, it probably should be a goal and something like that. But
Right.
if I'm going strictly by the rule books, probably should have been a penalty, but I'll take it because it obviously wasn't.
But doesn't it not count as a goal if it could be reasonably determined that if the net was still on its moorings, it would have went in?
I thought it still had to be on the moorings. Like it doesn't have to be on the ice. If the net's still on its moorings, it counts.
Right.
We'll have to look into it. You
'Cause-
might be right, but I thought it still had to be on the moorings for the goal to actually count.
Because they made a good point. The broadcasters made a good point of the face-off that happened just like right after that was in the Capital zone.
Yeah.
Which would mean that the Capitals knocked the net off.
Yeah. That's
if the
what
Bruins knocked the net off, it's outside the zone, but it was inside the zone and there was no penalty. There was no goal. Like it was just weird.
That's why
happened.
I was kind of confused too, because if that was the indication, then it should have been a penalty as well, because that's delay a game, right? If the Capitals knocked it off and the events proceeded where they almost score, or they would have scored, that should have
Right.
been a penalty. So yeah, I thought when they said that, I was like, yeah, that's true. Like that should be a 5-on-3 now, which could have drastically changed the game, but we'll take it. It was a great start to the playoffs. Definitely.
It was
a
ton of hits.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Like the physical play, like the Caps seem to ramp up. I've never seen that this year. Like they are a physical team, but it felt like something had been missing all year long, and they found that next gear that I've been waiting to see, and I loved it. Like it was just with fans in the crowd too. Like I think too, the Caps on June 10th or 11th get 100% capacity. So that's why I really want them. If they can get through this round, it'll be a huge boost. But no, it was great start to the playoffs. Big win for the Caps. I'm very much looking forward to game 2, and hopefully we can get Kuz back, if not game 2, for game 3.
Dude, there was 92 hits in the game.
Wow. That's
so many.
That's a lot. What did it say for each team? What were the numbers for each team?
51 for Washington, 41 for Boston.
Okay, so fairly close. That
it was a grind them out game, because there was let's see here, there was 35 block shots. The one thing though that actually it seems like Washington was getting better at the longer the game was going, they were getting killed on faceoffs.
Yes, that first goal, DeBrusque. I sat there, I was like, "This, we got to figure this out." Because if that happens all series, just from possession to those opportunities, like you're gonna have a hard time winning this series if you get dominated on the faceoff circle like that.
Yeah, like that's it seems small, but like that is something that you could definitely lose. You lose a series over.
Do you have the numbers in front of you there for like the percentages or who won?
It was at the end of the
trying to find
game,
it
it was 60-40 Boston.
Okay, so you know what? That's not as bad as I thought. Like I think it was really bad to start.
It was
like
like
the first period.
80% at one point.
Yeah.
For Boston.
So you know what? That's actually so the Capitals halfway through this year, or maybe I'll say a third of the way, signed or brought in Michael Pekka as kind of to work with guys at like on faceoffs is one aspect that he was, and it's really seemed to work. Like we are not a good faceoff team. I will say that now, but we did seem to improve, and that is a good sign because the Bruins are a good faceoff team. So, and you know how Patrice Bergeron is, right? Like he's going to get his no matter what. So if you can just kind of, I will take 60-40 every game because I think we can win other aspects of the game, like hits. I think we're a bigger team. Our special teams, I think our power play is better. So if we can cut that close, I think that'll help us in this series with like pulling this one out here.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the North Division. I gotta say, this schedule for the North Division is brutal, absolutely brutal. The games that they're waiting on are Vancouver and Calgary, and if you don't know, these games mean absolutely nothing. These mean nothing. Neither team is going to go to the playoffs. Why are we waiting for them to play? The other divisions aren't waiting for them to play. So why are we waiting for them to play? I made the point that last year, the NHL had no problem with different teams playing different amount of games. And we're still in COVID, right? It's not the Canucks' fault that they got COVID, but I'm just saying, like, they're like, that's the only reason that we're waiting around. So the Leafs played what, Thursday? So they're going to wait a full week to play.
Yeah. Also, like, as obviously you're a Leafs fan, so Montreal, who you guys have beat them the last 2 or 3 times, and you've looked at their roster, how many guys are they missing? We can start. Well, I'll name some for you. One, it was Weber, Price, Gallagher, Druin, and there was I think 2 or 3 others. Those are big names. So why now they get to sit there for a week and a half and get healthy? Those guys will be playing game 1, every single one. So now that advantage that Toronto had, like, I know injuries are a part of the game, but like it happens when they happen, right? Like we just had to play with it because Kuznetsov and Samsonov. That's an advantage for the Leafs, and I'm sure they'll take that. So what now? Montreal gets to sit there, get healthy, and in game 1 have all their guys back, and probably that helps them a lot, right? Like that game could be closer now where they get their best guys back, like Carey Price.
That happened last year, and it pissed me off to no end. Was that I think it was Tampa and Toronto were set to play each other in the first round under normal, playoff structure. They were going to play each other in the first round, but Stamkos was out. Hedman had just got hurt. Another one of their big guns was down. So they had 3 of their best players were hurt. And then all of a sudden we go into COVID lockdown. And so playoffs get pushed back like 3 months. And all of a sudden we changed the playoff structure, but those guys are now back. Like Stamkos is now back. Hedman's now back. They were fully healthy. They had 3 months or whatever to heal up, and they go on to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Like there's no guarantee if that they had just kept playing, they kept the same playoff structure. The Leafs played Tampa in the first round. Tampa would have got out of the first round because a lot of their good players were hurt. Same thing is happening with Montreal. And that's so frustrating. I still think the Leafs are going to win. I don't really think it'll be close. I think the Leafs have another gear. Like I think the last week or so, like they just like games didn't mean anything to them. They knew they were first in the division. They knew who they were playing.
I saw on Twitter after the Jets game, and I was just talking to some people, and just so much overreaction. I was like, dude, you guys stop. Like, who cares about this game? This game means nothing. As long as you left that game healthy, there's no reason you should even care what the box score said, who played, anything. As
Yeah.
long as you left that game healthy, it meant that's all that matters. And
I w-
so what? Well, I'll go back to what you said about like the series being close, and I think I'm definitely taking Toronto in that series. But here's the thing: I think I said this before, but if you've looked at Carey Price's playoff stats, this is the only thing that would make me nervous. Montreal, in my eyes, Montreal as a team has to win 2 games because I think Carey Price is good enough when he's playing his best, he can win 2 himself. That's the only thing that would make me nervous. I think Toronto will still win. They're just a better hockey team than Montreal is. But if I was trying to play devil's advocate and pick away at possibilities here,
right.
I still think just Carey Price makes me nervous because I think Montreal, if they can win 2, his skill set, Carey Price, he can win 2 himself because he's that good.
Like he does make me nervous because we've seen it in the playoffs before with the Leafs. Is like they have been the better team on
Yeah.
a couple occasions, but they just like their team's goalie was just on fire.
But you need that too, right? Like there's
Right.
you're not going to win 16 playoff games being the better team in every single one. You have to be able to win games in different ways. Sometimes it takes a few bounces, sometimes it's incredible goaltending, whatever the situation calls for. You got to find ways to win games. If it's the special teams, just and that's one, right? Like having good
Right.
goaltending and stealing a couple wins is essential. Like you don't win the cup without it.
Right. It's just so frustrating that like they're waiting around for these two non-playoff teams to finish up their series. Like it's so stupid. Like why are we waiting around? Like why can't we start?
It's
Why
also
can't
here.
the teams who are in the playoffs just start?
Yeah, I'll read you the schedule here.
Yeah.
So today, like I said, we record on Sunday here.
Yep.
We're currently both watching the Islanders Pittsburgh. Then there's after that Minnesota, Vegas, Tampa, Florida, and at 10:30 Calgary, Vancouver. Who's watching that with those other
Yeah.
games? Like I'm don't care. I'm not watching tremendous playoff hockey and then sitting down to watch a Vancouver and Calgary meaningless regular season game. It
Yeah.
makes no sense, like you said. It just and like how does that why can't the Leafs and Habs start tonight or tomorrow?
Right.
I don't know why they have to wait for that to finish.
So like it's just now Vancouver and Calgary, they're playing a few back-to-backs to get these games in. But like again, we're waiting on two non-playoff teams, and then the Leafs and the Habs and the Oilers and the Jets. They're gonna have to play back-to-backs. Like they're playing back-to-backs in the playoffs, which is nowadays like unheard of. Like nobody plays back-to-backs in the playoffs anymore.
Yeah,
They
like
used to, but not anymore.
also like because of how playoff hockey works and the physicality. I don't like that's kind of like when you talk about player safety, like I mean, they are
Yeah.
athletes and I get it, they should be able to, but there's no need, you don't have to. Like back
Right.
to backs isn't necessary for scheduling purposes or travel restrictions. Like, you're all traveling the same. You're playing that series. Both teams have the same travel schedule, so there's no need to. And because of that, because they have to finish that first round, just the other teams are sitting around. They're forced into what if Austin Matthews is battling some nagging injury that extra
Yeah.
day? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not necessary usually. So it's just frustrating.
Now, I think actually playing back to backs, I think it actually works into the Leafs' favor. Quite honestly, I think that they're a deeper team than Montreal, and Montreal has big, heavy defensemen. I think playing a lot of back to backs is going to tire them out. So I think it actually works into Toronto's favor. But it's just the other thing though with Toronto is where it won't work in their favor is their goaltending. Like nobody
Yeah,
on their team likes to play back to backs when it comes to goaltending.
I
Like
was
I
thinking
think
about that. I was like, because I don't think Campbell's played back to back all year.
no,
Anderson at this state, he's not. Is he gonna play? Like, he's
yeah,
played one game in the past 2 months. Like, that's not really fair to throw. Like, you're just gonna throw him into playoff hockey. So yeah, like that's another good point right there. Just that's that. If I was a Leafs fan, that would be incredibly frustrating as well because now, so you're probably forced to start Campbell, a guy who's also battled some injuries, and he just doesn't usually play back-to-back games. He's going to be forced to play back-to-back games.
yeah. And I mean he will, like they will play him back to back games, but again, it just doesn't make any sense why we're waiting around for these two bottom feeders to finish up their series, but whatever, that's the way it is. I mean, they're gonna have to do it. Like I just can't see the teams being happy with this. Any of
No,
them.
yeah. Also, like the Canucks are pretty open with they weren't even happy about restarting at the time that they were because of. I don't see how they would be happy finishing these meaningless games where guys could get it hurt.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. But
So, and that's the other thing is, the Canucks, they weren't happy that they were gonna have to play so many games in so few of nights. Well, fucking Toronto and Montreal are in the same boat.
yeah,
Why aren't they saying anything? Like, hey, why are we doing this? And then the league's like, oh yeah, that is a stupid idea. How about we start your series on Tuesday? And you're like, okay,
yeah,
that's a lot better. Like, you
or
could totally do
Monday.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. But
there's no reason we couldn't be prepping for a game tonight or tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sitting here on Thursday. So Thursday after game 3, halfway. This series could be halfway done. The Boston Washington series, and you'll be just starting yours.
yeah, dude, if Boston and Washington, if that goes 4 games, like if Washington sweeps them, that series will be over by the time Toronto and Montreal get to game 2.
Yeah.
So then the other teams, they got to wait around for the North Division to finish up their series. So the other divisions could be waiting a month, or not a month, a week in some cases.
I'm interested to see how that works. So what if they didn't wait and they just started, and then we get to the semifinals? So does that mean that those teams get to rest up while Toronto finishes their grinding out another series, like against whoever it is, Edmonton or the Jets, or if they were to win, like then that's an advantage for those teams. So
exactly,
I don't see how this is going to end up well. Like when we come to semifinals, either someone's waiting at some point and resting up, no matter how it works out.
Like Toronto could finish up a series in the North Division, and then they finish that on Wednesday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you have to play Washington on Friday. Good luck."
Yeah, to have fun.
Like,
have fun with Tom. You guys just got off the ice, and by the way, Tom Wilson's been waiting for a week now. He's all rested, and he's coming at you. Like it just it's frustrating that the NHL just couldn't start all the series, because we've talked about this now for how long. It's just dumb that series is starting.
It is. Let's move on to our last story of the day. Quick little update. Albert Pujols signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you remember, that was a team that I said he may go to. It's just good. It's good to see, the guy gets another shot at going for a World Series on a team that, offensively has been struggling. So maybe he can provide a little bit of a spark to them, and who knows?
Yeah, I think we talked about that was one of the possibilities we named, and I feel like for his sake, playing time, the American League would have been better for him, but clearly he's just trying to get probably one more championship under the belt here, because Dodgers are a pretty good roster already. They probably didn't need him, but
and they have lots of playoff success already.
Yeah, like with his name, he is like he can chip in, I guess. He's a power bat still, so yeah. I mean, it's cheap contract. I don't see how that doesn't hurt them in any way. It's good for him to get one more opportunity, probably limited playing time, which it's kind of confusing too. Like, so he's staying in LA. He was upset because of being a bench player, so he went to be a bench player.
Well, I wonder if it was more the performance of the team that he was frustrated with. I don't know.
It must have been a little bit of both, because I guess like if you're an athlete, I could probably get by being a bench player if my team is a first place team.
Exactly.
Wait, are they third right now though? The Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres are ahead of them, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they're definitely not doing as good as I thought they were going to be doing. Let me just pull up the standings here. Yeah, they're third. They're 22 and 17. San Diego is 23 7 and 17. San Francisco is 23 and 16. So they're a game behind San Francisco, half a game behind San Diego.
Yeah. Okay. So like obviously, they're probably still going to win that division. I don't think San Fran holds on to that, but the Padres are making noise too. I think we all knew they were going to be good as well. So yeah, I mean, adding another bench bat is never a bad thing, especially at this point in the year, and they need the boost. Like you said, they've been struggling a little bit. So yeah, it's kind of a win-win probably for both those, for Albert Pujols and the Dodgers.
100%. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he'll do. Hopefully he can provide a spark, and hopefully he can make a playoff run.
He's
in what will probably be his last. Well, he already said it'll be his last season.
That's why I think when we talked about this before, I was like, I kind of want him to chase 700, but that's probably not realistic. And then I realized when he brought that up that it is his last year. So
Right.
now I'm changing my tone. Probably I'd rather see him just go out on top because he's a guy you kind of just root for, like
Yeah.
an all-time class act in baseball. So yeah, I'm glad to see him get another opportunity.
Exactly. Let's get into some picks for Monday night. Hey, buddy,
Let's
what do
do
you
it.
got?
I'm gonna start with baseball here. I'm gonna go Cubs over the Nationals. Got the Mets at the Braves. I will take the Mets. And then you obviously got to throw in some hockey here, playoff hockey. I'll take the Avalanche in game one over the Blues and the Hurricanes over the Predators in game one.
I am staying on the ice for the entirety of my picks today.
Love
I am
that.
going to match your picks of Colorado versus St. Louis. I'll take Colorado. Give me Carolina over Nashville as well. And you know what? Give me the Capitals go up 2-0 on the Bruins. Give me the
All
Capitals
right.
on Monday night.
I hope so. I hope we come back here and on Monday well, I guess we would record before that game, but hopefully Monday night is the Capitals come ready to play because 2-0 stranglehold, that would put us in a really good position. And then we get Samsonov and Kuznetsov back. I would be quite excited.
Exactly. So everybody go out and enjoy some playoff hockey. It's great weather here in Southern Ontario, so go out and enjoy that. We'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye, everybody.